This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the international collaboration AndroNet and how you think that research may benefit the causes of male infertility?
Yeah, I mean, male infertility, we can explain probably 20% of all male infertility. We can actually say it's because of the genetic makeup of the man. It's because he has an absence of the vas deferens that he was born with. He has obstruction from some form of infection. There is a group we can find a cause for. There's something called Y microdeletions. And so that 20% is easy, but it's the other 80%. And we really don't understand why it is that male fertility has occurred in those men. The increasing evidence, I'm still not totally convinced that environmental factors has influenced the concentrations over the decades. The plastics, the pollution in the air generally probably is playing a part, but no one's been able to pin it down exactly. Research has become more sophisticated genetics area where we can get down to the actual makeup of the tiny little genes, the millions of them, body. More and more we are finding linkages between what your father gave you in your genes and the next generation. When probably a decade ago I would have said that 5% of men with very low sperm counts or no sperm might be one of these microdeletions. It's now up to 15% because we've been able to find more and more of these errors in the chromosome. So as time goes on, that's going to happen. And groups like AndroNet are the guys who are pushing the barriers. Because the research for all male infertility is actually relatively poor. People aren't particularly interested in it. Well, over the years, they haven't been particularly interested in it. If you go to something called PubMed, which collects all the publications of all the journals in the world, and if you put in male fertility, someone's done this study recently, and I think there was a ratio of about 60-1 of studies about female fertility and studies about male fertility. It's not totally surprising. We understand a lot more about the female than the male, and that translates into treatment. If there's nothing much research-wise goes on to find a cause, then there's not much work you can do to find treatments. I think it's positive that the groups are getting together. In Australia, we are unique in the world, and that the federal government has put money into male fertility research. We are the only country in the world where that money has been given. Where Andrology Australia has made such a good case to parliamentarians who are all males and usually have children, so they're not very interested. But he's been able to, Professor Glock is the prime mover, and they've been able to convince government that we need to put money in. And there's a huge observational study going on at the moment to establish as much as possible the incidence of the infertility and taking samples that will help towards research which may lead to understanding more about it.
Prof, do technology-assisted pregnancies increase the risk of preeclampsia?
There's a debate about that. Overall, there probably is an increased risk of preeclampsia, but there are a lot of confounding issues. Many women who are infertile are also overweight. Women with polycystic ovarian syndrome, even if they conceive outside of IVF, have a higher incidence of preeclampsia and diabetes in pregnancy. So it may be the underlying cause of the infertility that causes the increase in the preeclampsia, not the IVF itself. There is some evidence, however, that in frozen embryo transfer cycles, using hormone replacement therapy as the controlling element, there is a slight increase in preeclampsia. And certainly the Europeans have got on the bandwagon and are really moving away from using the HRT approach and using either natural cycles or cycles where they use small doses of drugs to stimulate ovulation. So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of data there. Personal experience has not indicated that that's a big deal. It's not that it's, women in their first pregnancy have a 10% chance of getting preeclampsia. So infertile patients are going to fall mainly in that group. In IVF pregnancies with this hormone replacement frozen embryos, maybe it goes up to 12 or 15%, but certainly no, it's not as if it's if this, then that. So I don't think it's a major issue.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website, www.theivfjourney.com, and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.